All right. Hello, and welcome to this episode where we're going to talk about spam mail and how I think it's a good analogy for OCD and anxiety recovery. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cotty, and I'm the founder of Restored Minds and the creator of the AAA Response. And in this episode, I really want to talk about our relationship with our thoughts and how we react to them and how we should be, responding to them in certain ways. And I think spam mail does a great job of serving as an analogy that we can anchor into. So before we dive into the episode, if you could help us out by please liking and subscribing, and if you're on YouTube, the little bell, just to be notified for future episodes. And also, if you'd be willing to leave us a review on iTunes for the podcast, it would be really helpful because, again, that just helps the algorithm, which gets our show out to more people. And that's the hope, that we can get this out to people to help them. So with that said, let's talk about spam mail. So most of us have email, right? And how do you identify spam mail? That's a good question, right? Because a lot of people will ask questions like, well, how do I know this is not a thought I shouldn't take seriously? How do I know I shouldn't be trying to figure this out, or trying to analyze this, or do a bunch of compulsions to neutralize this idea? And so using the analogy of spam mail is helpful because many of us can have experienced spam mail, right? So I remember, and there's spam mail that goes in both ways, right? Positive and negative. And I think the same thing happens with our thoughts. So in this first part, I just want to talk about the analogy. And in the second part of the a series, I'm going to talk about what you should actually be doing. So I remember, when the initial parts of email, right? When I was a young kid, there was this email that went around, and most people knew it was spam mail, but I mean, I'm sure certain people actually fell for it. So there was this email that went around about this prince from this other country, and I don't know, I forget the country that was from, or that someone was somehow stuck on the space station, right? And what they needed to do was raise money to help this person come down and bring them back home. And it was, I think it was like a third world country. So the idea was their space program wasn't very good, and he was stuck, right? And we needed to save him. And somehow, some way, that email found its way into my inbox, and me, Matt, Matt, was able to save this guy by donating $200. Now, the thing is that as you see an email, and the first encounter with spam email, it's like, it looks like a normal email. It's addressed to you. It has a headline. It has words that, same words that everyone else has used. So, there's not this instinct that spam email is even like a thing. It isn't until you get burned and donate to something that's not real, or, spend a bunch of time getting fished into something that's not actually viable, that you start to realize, like, oh man, this wasn't what it said it was, right? It was fake, so so whether it's trying to get you to donate money to a cause or give money to something, or it's that pretending, like, now they do it on phones, right? I'm sure many of you have gotten the same messages I've got from the quote IRS, that's just this automated recording telling you, like, hey, we're indicting you and you're going to be in trouble, and you need to pay up your debts right now or you're going to go to jail. And it's like, again, those thoughts are those words, whether they're in email form or, a voicemail that's automated, they create fear, right? They create an initial reaction in your body, oftentimes. And it can also happen on the converse, right? Where someone, you might get an email that says, hey, you just won $1 million, right? And that's going to make you feel excited. No, that's true, right? And what's happened is enough of us have been burned by spam mail that we now realize it's spam, right? So we don't even take it at face value. We just, oh, this is spam mail, right? This is spam mail. And we don't even click on it. And so the question I would ask you is, well, how do you know it's spam mail? It uses the same words as other emails sent by people to you. It uses the same headlines and titles. And there's just this Because in one of the ways that, we've even developed spam filters now for our emails, right? Where it just automatically goes in the spam box. And so part of it is you kind of start to, instead of taking the header at face value of whatever it's saying and assuming that's true, you kind of look at the other pieces here going on, right? You kind of say like, oh, well, what does the email say? And if it's in that kind of very like polar edge of like something really, really terrible and then, or something really, really good, it's kind of like, okay, this is probably falls into the spam mail category for a variety of reasons, right? If the police are looking to arrest you, they probably aren't going to email you, most likely, right? Probably going to take a little more direct action for that. And, and the other thing is if some guy is stuck on a space station and they need money, it's unlikely that they're going to email me personally, right? Especially, and if it's also from an address that you've never heard of, okay, a little fishy there too, right? So it's like we kind of use these instincts to say like, this is probably spam. Now the reality is you can never really be certain that something's spam. You can't, like, it's possible that you could have won $1 million and that, by deleting the email, you're going to lose your chance on it, but it's extraordinarily unlikely. It's not impossible that someone's stuck on this space station or that somehow the IRS is trying to contact me via email and telling me that I need to pay them $20,000 or I'm going to go to jail. But it's unlikely. And so it kind of has these giveaways, right? And that's how we start to filter out spam mail. And the same holds true with our thoughts, right? We gotta kind of start, noticing, right, the giveaways that this could be our OCD and anxiety fear mind, as opposed to something we really need to pay attention to. Now, because most of us, we can look back on times that we've listened to our fear mind and it's been totally wrong, right? Many of us can look back to times and periods of our life where we've obsessed about something or ruminated about something and it just, essentially it was just complete waste, right? Like we can look back on it and be like, I can't believe I spent that much time worrying about that, right? Same holds true with spam mail. Many of us have clicked on spam mail, and bought into some kind of scam, right? Or, or at least started to fall for it in some degree. I mean, I remember like I got some like flash sale thing and like it was all about like I forget what it was, but some kind of flash sale, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe these discounts. And I sent it to my friend to let him know, and then they text me back immediately like, did you see the URL? And it was like clearly some like made up URL, clearly a scam. But again, I fell for it. And because I got caught up in like the sale and like, oh, this was a really cool thing that I could buy, some vacation or something like that. And again, so the same thing happens with our mind. It comes up with these what if thoughts. And that's the big giveaway that I want to talk about today, right? It's like the biggest giveaway that this is not something that you need to address in your mind is the phrase what if right in front of it. That's like its biggest giveaway that this is OCD and anxiety. Kind of like spam mail, its biggest giveaway is that it's from some funky email address or that it has some super outrageous headline, right? That's designed to get you to emotional, right? Because the whole point of spam mail is to get you emotional and get you to take an action, usually to give your money for some reason, right? Even when you win $1 million, supposedly, for some reason, you need to send them your credit card information. Like, that's strange, right? And that same kind of thing with OCD and anxiety, right? You need to understand is that it's its own living and breathing entity. So what it needs you to do is to do something to keep it alive, right? In the same way the scammers, they need people to buy for their scam to actually operate. The OCD needs you to do behaviors and anxiety needs you to do behaviors that are going to keep that loop going. So what it's going to do is it's going to throw up the what if thoughts and the catastrophic scenarios to get you to feel like to get that emotional reaction, then to get you to do a behavior. And hopefully you're seeing the parallel here, right? Because this is important. Because if you understand that, then you can kind of start to step back from it a little bit and start to see it for what it really is. But if you just read the headline or you just listen to your thought right at face value and you take it at face value, you're going to be more susceptible to falling into the scam. And that is what we don't want, right? Um, so when we talk about what do we do with the spam mail? What do we do with the spam mail in our minds, right? The what if thoughts, the catastrophic thinking, the intrusive thoughts, all that stuff. And in part two, I want to kind of cover, okay, like, well, what do we do and why do we do that? And so in this episode, really the whole point was just to introduce this analogy of spam mail and starting to see this idea of these thoughts in our head as potentially spam. And really starting to understand that they're really the same concept, right? Spam mail, they want to get your attention with these, very outrageous headlines, good or bad. And then it creates an emotional reaction and gets you to try to do something. And when you do that thing, that's actually what keeps the scam going. And the whole idea is we need to break the cycle by by giving it the chance that it's spam, right? That's the thing, is that you can never truly be certain something's spam. Some things are like, I'm pretty certain this is spam, but again, you can never be 100% certain. Just the same way you can never feel 100% certain that your thoughts are really just these, this nonsense you don't need to pay attention to. But that's the step that we have to take, right? Is actually, hey, you know what? I'm going to take that risk that this is spam, and I'm not going to engage in it. So in part two, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about what should we do with the spam mail, and really, and metaphorically, of course, what we need to be doing with the thoughts and emotions that we experience. So meet me over on part two. We'll be having that here released in just a few days. But until that time, if you're looking for help, please check us out at restoredminds.com. We also have a little link down in the notes to help you. It's a little free guide that can get you started with a AAA response and kind of just understanding this from a higher level. So I hope this was helpful. And then I'll see you guys over on part two, where we're going to talk about what do we actually do with the spam mail. So I'll see you soon.